All right. So finally, we bring to our last read, and I think this is the official reading series for this episode, and it may cause Matt to have a stroke.
Oh, God damn it.
It comes courtesy of, again, another Chapo all-star who we haven't honestly checked in on in a long time, but I think the time has come for her to make another appearance. I'm talking, of course, about Washington Post opinions columnist Megan McArdle.
Oh, God. No.
Probably, I would say, the all-star in the Chapo roster. Like in the Chapo Hall of Fame, I think she's racked up more points
This
than
is
anyone.
Ted Williams.
Yeah. Like Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, and Muhammad Ali rolled together is Megan McArdle.
Yeah.
But instead of sports, it's being right. Having good thoughts and putting them into writing them down and publishing them.
Oh, no.
Okay, courtesy of the Washington Post, Megan McArdle said I was going to talk about affordable health care and the costs of prescription drugs. Megan McArdle. Oh, wait, do you want to talk about Megan McCain and her husband Ben Domino getting mad at Tom Myers real quick? That was a funny thing that happened
That
this
was
week.
funny.
That's when
really convincing. I think acting job of the year, Ben Domino. Sorry, I love my wife. Sorry for rage. I love my wife. I am a huge fan of my wife. Okay, man.
He got so mad at Seth Meyers for being mean to her. I wonder how mad he's going to get at himself for all the times he publicly owned her on Twitter before they got married.
Was it Stefan Heck found one where it was just like a manual RT where it was like someone's like he was manually RTing someone that was like contest, like win a date with Megan McCain, and then he's just in all caps, no, do not want.
Yeah, but then he met her, and we all have to admit, I mean, come on.
She's very charming. She's very charming. Yeah.
I mean, they went to a date, and like she screamed at the waiter until her face was the color of a fucking plum.
And then like,
do you think it was like lady? It was like Lady and the Tramp, and instead of fighting over like connecting the same piece of spaghetti to kiss, they're both flagging down the same manager to get the waiter fired and grab each other's wrists.
Ben Domino, though, claimed that Seth Meyers only got his job because he was gargling Lorne Michaels' balls.
Yeah, no,
Lorne Michaels does not have balls.
That's true. That is true. Like, Lorne Michaels saw Seth Meyers, and he was like, I want that sexy bitch to suck on my balls sexually. Not my dick, just my balls.
And again,
it's very weird.
Ike Barinholtz also pointed this out. He's calling Seth Meyers a hack, which is like whatever. Ben Domino got fired from the Washington Post for plagiarizing P.J. O'Rourke.
Hey, he
got fired for plagiarizing a hack.
If you want to, be the best, steal from the best.
Yeah.
P.J. O'Rourke, like, what would you plagiarize from P.J. O'Rourke? Hey, sometimes I like a little alcohol with my politics. Cool.
His awesome column about, like, I think all the hippies should get jobs cleaning golf courses.
Have you ever noticed
That's
that
epic.
French people smell bad?
Dude, hello, Epic Department.
Okay, so this our other favorite Megan, and I think honestly the better Megan, if we're being honest here, Megan McArdle.
Ugh.
There is a high cost to making drugs more affordable for Americans. So, like, now I know, like,
Well, pays $120 for an eighth once.
Well, I mean, it's true. Like, if people had access to medicines, some of them might not die early, and those people might end up being school shooters or Hitler or something. So, that's a cost we have to consider.
So, I mean, Megan is here to tell you that, like, yes, it's become, as a public, we've become increasingly aware of the sort of ludicrous and, like blackmail basically involved in the drug companies can now charge $700 for insulin or something like that. And that there's a growing dynamic.
Something that's been synthesized for almost 100 years.
And that, they abuse patent laws to like keep these things from being like, public domain, basically in perpetuity. And, you may think that that's bad. And Megan's saying, you may be right, but like on the other hand, what are the costs of fixing that? It could be higher than you actually dying from diabetes.
What if they try to make insulin generic and then they forget how to make it?
I mean, you're telling me when you go to the supermarket, you want that shitty cereal that's in a bag? What if you start getting prescription drugs that are like, a knockoff of Prozac?
Yeah, you don't want to go into Trader's Joe and get your prep.
Okay, Megan McArdle. Americans' outrage about prescription drug prices is odd in a way. What beautiful opening sentence. Drugs account.
I love a nice declarative, clear statement of intent to begin any article. I always like to begin an argument being like, "Hey guys, I don't know about this thing."
Well, as you're aware, the most infuriating part about Megan McArdle and her writing/thinking style is essentially laundering her hard right-wing point of view through obscene twee affectations and absurd hemming and hawing, where you go on the one hand, on the other hand, and you make it seem like you're being giving a fair-minded representation.
Yeah, just give me Ayn Rand over this shit.
Absolutely.
No, Ayn Rand knew what she believed in and would say that you're a worm if you think otherwise.
It's like if Megan McArdle wrote that shit, it would be like, A kind of equals A, I think, maybe.
But one could see
Who's
a scenario
John
where it
Galt?
equals B.
Who is John Galt? I don't know. People are kind of saying he's a guy.
He's
But is he? I don't know.
I mean, he might be a guy.
It's fun.
I kind of think he's a guy. But
It's
who knows?
weird. Okay, drugs. This is McArdle again. Drugs account for less than 10% of the nation's overall healthcare spending, and while the price of some medicines has spiked, overall spending on prescription drugs has grown more slowly than broader healthcare expenditures.
Right.
We did it.
Gone back, folks.
We
What's
did
that
it.
about people literally dying because they're rationing their insulin like on the regular?
No, but like,
But there could be more.
what she's saying is like, it's odd that you care so much about how expensive prescription drugs are costing, because the cost of prescription drugs has actually grown far slower and less dramatically than the cost of everything else associated with healthcare,
Which is exploding.
So he goes, in 2017, the increase didn't even keep up with inflation.
Oh my God.
Yet polls show,
I guess all those people aren't dead.
Yet polls show that pharmaceutical companies are one of the most hated private sector
What the
industries, below the rest of the healthcare industry,
I don't get it. It's like
and
this,
below even lawyers.
What the heck? It's like this company where they say, "Hey, I need this thing to not die," and then they say $5
Can you
million,
afford it?
and
And then you
literally,
say no.
if you can't afford it, we won't give it to you. It's weird. People resent that industry.
How could you not like somebody who is weighing two things in two hands? One of them is like, will thousands of people die because we just gouge the price on something we didn't invent? And on the other hand is like his kid going to the new school's new mime academy. How could you hate that person?
This is part of Felix's ongoing war against New York's The New School.
I don't know. Okay, look, I just think it's emblematic of the type of person. Everyone at the new school, their dad is all Martin Shkreli. It's a long story.
So he goes, she says, that's why it's been such fertile territory for Democratic presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders, who in April introduced a bill to control prescription drug prices, and last week tweeted that once in the White House, he would lower the outrageously high price of prescription drugs. The idea has proven so popular that even Republicans, including Senator Rick Scott, are getting into the act. Rick Scott, by the way, if he's getting in on the act, he must have figured out a way that he can steal millions from Medicare recipients directly.
Rick Scott is going to be the first senator sponsored by Big Baller brand. He's a big baller.
Which isn't really surprising at all. Is it, Megan? Drugs may be a small part of our healthcare spending, but it's the cost that we're most directly exposed to month after month.
So it's a big part.
Yeah.
Fucking idiot.
Moreover, it's easy to directly compare U.S. prices with much lower prices in, say, Canada. Yeah, another comparable, industrialized first world nation that's literally we share a border with, that is in every way it's like America, that like for some reason their drugs cost a fraction of what we do, and the people literally organize caravans to go north of the border to get fucking drugs. Megan, honestly, Megan would like to build a wall, but on the Canadian border, so Americans can't steal prescription drugs from Canada. So he goes, Americans think the difference is unfair because it is. And yet Americans arguably get a pretty good deal from all this overspending. What they get? New drugs. Okay?
You mean like that shit for like make your eyelids just thicker?
So
like
goes,
that?
New drugs. We get new drugs. The oversized profits that
15 different types of boner pill.
The oversized profits that pharmaceutical companies collect in the United States encourage them to do lots of research and development in the hope of earning more of those sweet, sweet returns. Again, more of her fucking unbearably twee. Right? She writes like a fucking high schooler. Doesn't she have any editors who are like, this isn't cute or funny, Megan? It's actually grotesque.
And it's really good in there. She says encourages them.
Those sweet, sweet returns. And wait, one more sentence. The rest of the world essentially free rides on Americans' willingness to pay more. Okay.
Willingness to pay.
So yeah, our willingness to pay. Nobody asked us. Yeah. If given the choice, we would actually like to pay less, and that's what this article you're trying to argue. You're trying to talk us out of. In Megan's ideal world, we all would be willing to pay whatever prescription drug.
Those hardworking pharmaceutical reps, they deserve every penny.
Okay, what's so stunning about this?
They gave me a slightly different type of fucking statin.
Is Megan makes a shitload of money, right? I mean, I assume she has like a pretty good salary writing for the Washington Post. And like she gets money in exchange for her willingness to debase herself in public over and over again. What's stunning to me about this line about how actually the American pharmaceutical industry, their profits subsidize medical research that the rest of the world free rides on, is the oldest fucking line in like the Pfizer fucking PR playbook. They've been pulling this for probably 20 years now, and they're doing it again. They haven't changed this line at all. Their profits, it's going all to research. They spend vastly more money on fucking marketing and like stock buybacks.
They spend it on
marketing.
They spend it on pens that have the names of the drugs on it and hand jobs for doctors so that they'll prescribe them.
They spend a fraction of these profits on legitimate medical research, most of the actual important medical research that leads to breakthroughs are from government-funded
National
research.
Institute of Health. They get. And then
glom onto it
because we have no
add a time release mechanism and then patent it so no one can get that drug for the next 100 years.
Because we don't have any mechanism to distribute drugs or actually to develop and distribute drugs. We have to give the research to private companies just because they have a distribution network, which we could absolutely have that be a fucking public provision as well.
Megan continues here.
And the thing she says, I just want to say it. She goes, it encourages them to put the money into research.
Well, it's obviously not the case.
Well, beyond that, it's like you're just saying that. Like there's no support there. You're saying, well, logically it would. It's the same argument when they say, oh, you cut taxes on rich people, then they're going to put it back into their companies in the form of investment, and that'll mean more jobs. We know they don't do that. We know for a fact they don't do that. But it sounds like something you would do if you were in that position. So you think, yeah, you're right, they do that. But we know they don't do that because also her premise that their money comes from like the next big like life-saving drug. No, their money comes from slight variations on existing drugs.
And addicting the nation to opiates.
Yes. And buying old patents and jacking up the fucking price.
Yeah. This is what I mean. Like Megan, this is what you're taught. What Megan and other fucking reptiles like her are taught at like the Koch brothers Institute for Humane Studies and these journalism programs to get you placed in somewhere like the Washington Post so you can just regurgitate these ludicrous like PR bromides from private industry. What you learn there is how to like anesthetize any sense of shame or feelings that like you're a bad person. Like this, I said, Megan gets paid to embarrass herself in public because she doesn't care what she doesn't give a fuck what she says. Doesn't care at all what comes out of her mouth. She just knows that she has to do it.
She's just thinking about that Williams-Sonoma catalog. She's thinking about putting another fucking gewgaw in her goddamn kitchen.
So she goes on
she
here.
She is Lydia Rodarte Quayle.
She goes on here. If the United States enacted European-style price controls on drugs, less of that research would be done, and that would mean real losses to human welfare. In recent years, drug companies have offered, among other things, a cure for hepatitis C, a treatment for drug-resistant epilepsy, a near-miraculous remission rates for previously terminal cancers. Okay, they invented all those things? Good, let's make it public domain and have it so that everyone can have access to these new wonderful life-saving drugs.
And once again, I want to see the fucking work on where the goddamn research for these comes from, because just because Pfizer patents it or sells it to you or puts a commercial out does not mean that they did the fucking research that made that happen.
She goes, the argument is a familiar one, though, and advocates for some form of price controls already have rejoinders. Probably the most frequently heard is that drug companies can keep research investment high by cutting in other areas such as marketing, dividends, and stock buybacks, and boo-hoo if the shareholders don't like it. Again, that's literally what I just said. So she says the advocate's solution is simple, appealing, and wrong. It fundamentally misunderstands the nature of the drug pricing issue, which is not a budget problem, but an investment problem. A budget problem is what it sounds like. It's how you match outflow to inflow. If your salary drops by a third, you start cutting expenses until you've eliminated the deficit. Farewell vacation, and it may come time to sell one of those cars. But investments are about how you make your income grow. Imagine that you're deciding whether to go into business for yourself. It doesn't really matter what sort of business, but since Tuesday was National Roast Leg of Lamb Day, let's say you want to open a sheep farm. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about here. Here's a good thing. You start with a simple defensible moral principle, which is that no one should die in the richest nation on earth because they can't afford insulin, a drug that's been extant for 70 years now. To create an argument to like sort of reverse engineer an argument against that, you have to come up with this convoluted thought experiment where you're investing in lamb futures because it's roast leg of lamb day, or you're comparing it to a household budget where you're like, oh, if drug companies, cut back on marketing, then, if you think about that like your family, that means that you won't be taking a vacation.